legendary Spanish-Mexican filmmaker Luis Bunuel, who is really one of the biggest towering figures of world cinema that come to mind, along with the likes of Fellini, Kurosawa, Bergman, Satyajit Ray, Andei Tarkovsky. It's really important that you also include Luis Bunuel when it comes to these giants of world cinema. This retrospective is unique because we are bringing to you 7 of his greatest films, and these films are taken from different eras that Bunuel worked in, different places that the great filmmaker worked in. The Mexican phase is included. Then we also have his French movies here, we also have his Spanish films. So it's really a beautiful retrospective that we are bringing together. Cervantes Institute, in collaboration with Alliance Francaise and the Embassy of Mexico, has put this retrospective together, and I have the great honor of presenting this retrospective. I was also part of the curation process. I very closely worked with Instituto Cervantes on which movies to bring, and to bring all these films together was not easy. It took a lot of time, it took a lot of efforts to source all these films, because you have to understand that these films belong to different eras. We have films from the 50s, we have films from the 60s, we have films from the 70s. So it's really rich in that way. We start the retrospective on October 16th with the Mexican film Nazarin, which is a very famous and a very popular film in Luis Bunuel's hour, and it is about this priest who really reminds you of what it takes to be a good human being. It will help you reinstate your faith in humankind. It is really a very powerful film, a great example of Luis Bunuel working at the height of his powers, and this came out in 1959. Once we are done with the great opener, which is Nazarin, we bring you to the Lost Ones, which is Los Olvidados, and this is a 1951 film also from Bunuel's Mexican phase. And the reason why this film is important is because it was the success of this film that really allowed Bunuel to stay in Mexico. We all know that he started, with this amazing collaboration with Salvador Dali on this film, short film called Uncian Andalau. But after that, they made a film called Large Door, and then they had a very difficult time together. They broke up, and Dali went on a different path. Bunuel went on a different path. Bunuel wanted to try his luck in Hollywood, but then Dali came out with this book, and this book really projected Bunuel as a communist and as this atheist figure, and it didn't augur well for him, and so Hollywood really never really gave him the opportunity. He wanted to work at MoMA, but that never really transpired, and that's when he went to Mexico. And in Mexico, after initial struggle, he really struck gold, and it was in Mexico that he will remain for the rest of his life, but he will continue to go to Europe. He'll make films which are French, he'll make Spanish films, but Mexico was really his newly adopted home ever since he shifted here. And he would also make some interesting international films like Robinson Crusoe. But his films in the Mexican phase are really special, and that's why it was important to bring the Embassy of Mexico on board for this one. Then once we are done with the first 2 films, Nazarin and Los Olvidados, that is the Lost Ones, we move on to his French masterpiece Belle de Jour, which is the film with Catherine Deneuve in the lead role of a bored housewife who goes out every day in search of love. It is really, a film which made Bunuel this legendary figure. The film won Golden Lion, and Catherine Deneuve also, struck gold again after the success of Umbrellas of Cherbourg. So this is really a big film for Catherine Deneuve also. She really is this great goddess of cinema, the greatest, the leading lady, one of the greatest leading ladies of cinema history. She really owes it to this film, Belle de Jour, and it's really one of my favorite Bunuel films, and it's also a film that is very well known. So that we have for you on the 18th. So if you want to join the Luis Bunuel retrospective a little late, then probably 18th is the time that you should join us for this beautiful film that we have for you, Belle de Jour. And then on the 19th, we have his famous, amazing film, The Exterminating Angel, with Sylvia Penel, and it is about this group of guests who come to a room to have this feast together, but they're not able to leave this room. and this is a film which is very surrealistic in nature. Belle also has very strong surrealistic elements, and that's a very beautiful aspect of the Bunelian filmmaking style. And we all know Luis Bunuel always made a Luis Bunuel film, and you could tell that just by watching a few frames of the film that it's a Luis Bunuel film. And we have seen it in all the wonderful works of Luis Bunuel. There is something Bunelian about it, and Exterminating Angel is really the perfect example. It's really the quintessential Luis Bunuel film, and it is also cited. A lot of people talk about it whenever they talk about absurdism, whenever they talk about surrealistic undertones and themes of Bunuel. They really talk about Exterminating Angel. So that's really a film that we have for you on the 19th. Then on the 20th we have the great Palme d'Or winning film from 1961 called Viridiana, again with Silvia Pinal, and this is a film that was banned by the Vatican. The prints were ordered to be burned by the Franco regime of the time. It was only because of Silvia Pinal, who was able to smuggle one print out with her to Mexico, that this film actually survived, and today we are able to watch it. It is really well known for Bunel's critique on organized religion. It's really the best kind of critique on organized religion. There is a beautiful scene on the Last Supper in how Bunel really shows what he means by his critique of organized religion, and it's a scene which particularly didn't go well with Vatican, and that is one of the main reasons why it was banned and why all its prints were ordered to be burned by the Franco regime during Spain's dictatorial phase. And a film that is very close to my heart. I think Silvia Pinal really delivers the best performance of her career. It also has my favorite actor, Fernando Rey, who also has been in some Carlos Saura films and who was also in The French Connection with William Friedkin. He here plays a guest role of Uncle, the character of Silvia Pinal's character. Very powerful role in that he sees his dead wife in this niece of hers, and he really tries to force her to marry him. And what happens after that, and the questions of faith, the practical notions that Bunuel will always put in his films, those scenarios that he would show the world that it's really a cruel place. Though in Nazarin he shows a very interesting worldview which is very compassionate, very empathetic, Viridiana is right on the opposite side of the radar for you. So it's really a film that is really an essential viewing if you want to understand cinema of Luis Bunuel and why he would always critique organized religion, what is his understanding of the bourgeois hypocrisy. It's really in there in this film. And then on 21st we have two films for you. You have to understand that all these screenings from 16th to 20th will happen at 6 p.m. at Instituto Cervantes, which is in CP 48 Hanuman Road. But on 21st we are bringing to you two films. So the first film is The Criminal Life of Archibaldo de la Cruz, which is at 4, and then afterwards the last film of the retrospective is that obscure Object of Desire. The Criminal Life of Archibaldo is another of those brilliant Bunuel films which start off as melodramatic but then it becomes very surrealistic in nature, and it's also a very rare film. It wasn't easy to locate, but we are bringing it for you and you will really love it. You will see early genius of Bunuel's Mexican phase in this film, about this character who really has this paranoia that he is this killer, but a lot of it is also in his mind. So the idea of the subconscious and the Bunelian tropes are really at work, and you have to understand this is also probably the closing phase of the golden age of Mexican cinema. So in that way, a lot of the Mexican films that we are bringing to you, particularly Nazarin, Los Olvidados, and also The Criminal Life of Archibaldo de la Cruz, these are actually representative of the golden age of Mexican cinema, which was typically the late 40s, mid to late 40s, but of course with Bunel's signature on these films, they really carry forward, by about half a decade to almost a decade, because Bunuel was really delivering some amazing, gigantic masterpieces during these 10 years or so, and he would continue to do so, in across the globe and again back in Mexico. And then I want to come to the last film which will close this retrospective, which is that obscure Object of Desire. This is a very unique film. It came out in 1977, and it is actually a film which was the last film that Luis Bunuel would direct, because he would pass away in 1983, and it's been 40 years, and that's why we are also bringing this for retrospective for you in this year, wherein we have been without him in this world for 40 years. So it's been 40 years, but his cinema is still with us. And coming to that obscure object of desire again, it's a film that stars again Fernando Rey, and this time he's in the lead role of this French businessman who throws a bucket of cold water on this girl called Conchita, and who is actually a beautiful flamenco dancer. On being asked why he was forced to do such a cruel act in this chilling winter by throwing a bucket of cold water on this beautiful young girl, why would an old man do that? That's when he narrates this story, that why he's doing that and how cruel this girl has been to him, and how Bunuel really uses the trope of flashbacks is really on display in this film. And what he's done, which only a surrealistic master surrealist like him could have done, is to cast two actresses in the role of Conchita in order to suit two different sides of this particular flamenco dancer. He is using two actresses in the role. So this is really a unique example of how he would use not one but two actresses to play the same part, and it really allows Bunuel to open up whole new diversity in cinema, a whole new dimension of cinema with the same character played by the two different actresses at the same time. And it is not happening that these are flashbacks, these are unfolding in real time. So in the same moment, these two actresses are there in the same frame, probably separated by a few seconds, just to see the mood swings of this particular character, and why probably Fernando Rey's character is behaving so, why he's so flabbergasted, why he's so really irked, why he's so disturbed by how this girl is playing with him. And this really unfolds in form of flashbacks, and there are some beautiful sequences, and there are also references to rise of terrorism in this world. So probably Bunuel also predicted what the world would be like in the near future. So in many ways, this is really the perfect way to sum up this retrospective on Luis Bunuel, which will start on October 16th with Nazarin, and which will end with that obscure object of desire on the 21st of October. I, Murtaza Ali Khan, welcome you all to join us on this amazing journey at Instituto Cervantes. Every evening at 6 p.m. we have a screening for you. On 21st we have two screening. The Criminal Life of Archibaldo de la Cruz is at 4, and then at 6 we have the obscure object of desire, and all other films are at 6 p.m. Sharp. So make sure you are there, and I'll once again have the pleasure of introducing these films, presenting these films for you. So I'll see you at Instituto Cervantes, and I really hope that you will come out and watch these wonderful gems of world cinema by none other than the great master Luis Bunuel.